Hi everybody, welcome to Sannie B Stitches, episode 2. Welcome back, and welcome if you're new. My name is Valerie, and today in episode 2, we're going to talk about knitting, crochet, and some cross stitch too. If you're interested in creative content like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to be notified when I have a new video posted. We've had a busy couple of weeks. We had the President's Day weekend, and so we had a nice long weekend, watched some movies, and just kind of hung out. But after that, school has been crazy busy. There's already been enrollment, things going on in February, which is crazy to me. But it's good to start thinking about that because my daughter's moving up to the middle school next year. There's been athletics starting, spring sports, tryouts. So we've been really busy the last couple weeks, but that's been really nice and good. And then another good thing we did was last weekend, I was able to get together with both sides of the family. So Saturday night, we got to go to dinner with my in-laws. And then Sunday night, we got to have dinner at my parents' house. So we got time with both sides of the family and my sweet nieces. And it was just a really nice weekend. I do have a few finished objects since last time. And the first one is my donation hat I was working on, the classic cuffed hat by Purl Soho. This one is just made up in the adult size. So it's actually a little bit bigger than the one I made my dad. And the weird thing is of how big it turned out. It's huge. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to frog it or what. But after talking with my mom, she said, somebody's going to need that hat. So I'm going to go ahead and donate this one. And I went ahead after I finished this and immediately cast on another one, I think because I was frustrated with how big this turned out. This is just the actual pattern or how many stitches it casts on to cast on, the size needle it recommended, the size weight of yarn, but it just turned out big. So somebody's going to need it, and that one's going to get donated. And then with some more of my yarn scraps, these are all from the acrylic yarns from Hobby Lobby, I made this one. I posted, I think, a couple times about. I used the green from my dad's hat to do the brim, and then this cream, which is really pretty, to make the top. And I decided I'm going to leave the pom-pom off just in case somebody's not a big pom-pom person. So those are my two knitted hats for donation. And then I did finish my other pot holder. So I'd already done this one for my kitchen in the gray, and I was working on this one, and I finished it in the aqua. And I kind of just did this here and there in the car, waiting for kids' activities. And so it didn't turn out the same size because I wasn't counting, and it was my first time. But it doesn't really matter because it's in my kitchen and they're hot pads. So if I make these for a gift, I will spend the time counting out my rows. But for me, they work. So those two are done. My hats are done. And then I have a little bit of cross stitch too. They're not ones that I have finished in the last 2 weeks, but they're ones that when I was getting out my spring decorations the other day, I found them in my bin and I thought, oh, I didn't even talk about cross stitch last time. So these are a couple things that I've finished. Last year, I made tulip bunches by stitching with the Housewives. And tulips are my favorite flower, so when I saw this pattern, I had to do it. It turned out really cute. This one is on, I believe it's a 28 count even weave. But I finished it on this little basket from Hobby Lobby, and it turned out really cute. And I usually set it on my tiered tray when I decorate for the spring. This one my mom made many years ago, and I don't remember who the designer is. So if you do, please post it. But it's so cute, little bunny for Easter or spring. And I used to actually have a pet bunny when I was growing up. So this is a really cute one that she had finished nicely. so it sits out with my spring decor every year. Then the last cross stitch that I was getting out, this is another stitching with the Housewives piece, and I worked on it a year ago or so, and it took me a while because it's a lot of white. And it is the Home is Where the Wreath Is, I believe is the name of it. And it's this pattern that if you aren't familiar with it, it's really cool. The first original pattern was the Home with this wreath, just kind of a generic everyday wreath. And Stitching with Housewives is really cool because they tell you where the finishing piece comes from and how to get it. So I got this from Hobby Lobby and used their Stitching with the Housewives black fabric. And then this is the 28 count even weave. And then the other cool thing is they show you how to finish it. And they came out with another one where they can be changed out with magnets and washers. So there are months or designs for every month of the year, I believe. I have 2 different patterns, and I think they've come out with more since then. So today I was going to switch this one out because I actually do have a finished one. I kind of got burnt out on this actually once I finally finished, because this is so much just plain, and I was not a fan of stitching on this even weave in the black. Ada is so much easier for me. I don't know if it's just because it's getting harder for me to see it, or it's the black, or a combination, but I just got burnt out on the even weave, and I should just do what I like. So I wished I'd done it in Ada, because then all of these O's I would switch out would have been a lot easier. But I did finish the Easter one, which is so cute. Little bunnies. And so I put the washers on the back. So I'm going to switch that out today and put the bunnies on there. And then I'll be all ready for spring. I need to make some more of these for the different months, because I think I have this one, and maybe, I don't know if I've quite finished it. I think I started working on the Halloween or the Christmas. I'll have to dig out my whips. But I need to make a summer one too, so I can swap them out. It's really fun when all things are said and done. Maybe I'll just make them on Ada, because this actually goes on a shelf in my living room up pretty high. So maybe I'll just make them on black Ada and enjoy the process. And if it doesn't quite match with the blacks, so what? So that's my other finished cross stitch. That's all of my finished objects. I have cast on a new donation hat. And this one is in a really pretty purple. It is a Lion brand, Heartland yarn. And it is a size 4 medium, so like a worsted weight. And it's 100% acrylic, so a good one for donation. And it has a really pretty tonal quality to it. And I'm making this one, since the red one turned out so big, I'm making it back like the size I made for my dad. So it looks a little more on the normal size range, or average, I guess, not normal. But so I'm going to cuff this one up as well. And I have a few more inches before I start decreasing. But this has been in this little cute bag. I don't know what the name is. It says Blink Waffle. But my mom gave me this when I first started knitting, and it's really nice and small. Take on the go, crammed down in my big bag. But I decided to cake up my yarn because I was having a hard time with the ball, like on the go, because it kind of flings the ball around, the ones how they're made from the store. And so I wanted a cake that I wanted to try to pull from the middle. Normally when I cake up my yarn, I pull from the outside, because I'd heard horror stories from my mom about when you pull from the center having all kinds of tangles and she calls it yarn barf and issues with it. And I was curious because I've seen people like Nitty Natty make these really cute cozies that go over your yarn cake to kind of keep it clean and protect it. And then if you're pulling from the center when you're out and about, you're not having to make sure it unwinds, from the outside. It can just pull straight out of your project bag. So she said, you're never going to know until you try it on a project. So I thought the donation hat would be a good one to try it on. Now that I've been working, it's pulling it up into this cone shape. So I don't know if that is normal or if it's because it's such a large amount of yarn. Maybe I should have caked it into 2 cakes. I don't know. I haven't had any really big issues yet with pulling from the center. I have had a couple times where I got nervous because it got tangled, and I tried at first to push this back down, and it just made a big problem. So we shall see what happens. So my next whip is the Eva cardigan by Petite Knit. I actually have 2 swatches here. The first swatch I did in the needle size that it called for, which was a US 6, and I did not meet gauge on it. It was a little bit too big. I learned from my first garment I made last year that if I'm that far off on gauge, then it's not worth making a whole nother one, just 1 needle size down. If it's that far off, I need to maybe try 2 needle sizes down to save myself some time. So I went down to a US 4, and I got really lucky. I actually got gauge with this one. So I am going to be doing the project on a size 4 needle, and I actually got to get started the other day. I caked up my yarn, and no, I'm not pulling from the center for this project. I'm pulling from the outside because I didn't want to run into any issues. But this yarn is so pretty. I bought it last fall from Not Another Hat online from Hood River, Oregon, which I've actually been to her shop before. I haven't met her, but her shop is really awesome. But anyway, this is Barocco Vintage DK. And so it's 52% acrylic and 40% wool and 8% nylon. Started working on it, and it's all a lot of new stuff to me. So I like to have more simple projects like my donation hats, and then I really like to have a challenging project or something that I don't think I can do, because as I go along, I'm like so empowered to keep going because look at that, I made something cool and I've never done that before. And it kind of is like, I don't know, it gets you addicted because then you want to keep going and see what else you can do. But I started the beginning, and it's like the back yoke of the sweater, and it's rolling up on me, but it's really pretty. And it's got this detail along the side where the shoulder is going to be. So I finished that section, and now I'm supposed to pick up and knit along these seams, and I'm going to make like a little shoulder tab that comes across, and then I'll pick up all the stitches again and start working on the whole body of the sweater and the sleeves. I would really love it as a goal if I could finish this by Easter, which is the end of March, and tomorrow is March. So that would be a lot for me, but I think it would be a doable goal if I stick with it. My last whip is actually a cross stitch whip. I got in the mood to cross stitch the other day when I was finding all of my spring decor, and so I went and dug out all my whips. I have a lot of cross stitch whips, but this one stuck out to me, and it is so close to being done. It is Primrose Cottage Stitches, Be Happy. So we've got Be Happy, Be Humble, Be Kind, and it's so cute. I started it last spring, and I don't know why I didn't finish it. I think I got into knitting this top, but so I picked up and finished the border the other day, and I literally just have like tiny little bees up here. I have the bee hive, and then I think a big bee right here, another bee, and a heart, and then I'm done. So that is my goal for next podcast, is to have that done and hopefully fully finished so I can put it out with my spring decor. That is all of my whips that I am going to show today. I do have some haul. This first one is a crochet hook. It's wooden and it's pink, and it's called blush wooden hooks by Looky. I believe it's a Swedish brand. I have not used it yet, but it's a really pretty pink. I like the wooden hooks and needles sometimes, and then other times I like the metal. So we will work with this. I don't know what I'm going to make yet. I actually do want to talk about some crochet next time. I really want to start working on some of the cute little animals and try to make something like that maybe for the kids for Easter, my nieces. I think that would be a really fun project. These fox and pine stitch holders, stitch stoppers. Oh goodness, it's kind of hard to see in the bag. They're really pretty and pink and springy. And then some pattern place markers. These will work for knitting patterns, crochet patterns, or even some cross stitch patterns. And then my last thing of haul is business related, I guess. I didn't mention on my last episode, but I actually have an Etsy shop where I sell t-shirts. A lot of different designs have to do with knitting and crochet and cross stitch, but I have other ones too. I used to be a teacher, so I've got a lot of teacher shirts on there. I've got mama shirts on there. I actually have been doing a lot of custom orders. So anyway, I will link my shop below, but I ordered some business cards for Sannie B tees. And I just wanted to show the cool packaging. So I do a lot of design work in some previous jobs and just volunteer work at the school and things with the Canva software. And I ordered the business cards through their website and their company. And it came in the cutest packaging. So I opened it right here. And it says Unleash the Magic. And then the business cards are right there inside in this little box. I just thought that was the coolest packaging. And I had to share. I do actually have one other thing I received in the last couple of weeks. I had a viewer send me a ring that you can use for knitting. It's like a cute little kitty cat, and you're supposed to use it for tensioning your yarn. I guess it comes through this way. I need to practice with it more, but thank you so much. It's really cute. And I had seen some rings like this online and wanted to try it. So I'm going to be testing it out, especially with my cardigan. I have to knit flat, so I have to do a lot of purling. But anyway, thank you so much. So over the past couple of weeks, as I've been knitting my swatch for the Eva cardigan, I was noticing that my knitting didn't look quite right. When I was knitting my swatches, it looked kind of crisp, like a weird design in my fabric. It looked like some of the stitches were jumping out a little bit, and it didn't look quite right, but I also didn't think I was doing anything wrong. And so I started doing some digging online and looking up some YouTube videos, and I came across this video. I actually shared it on my stories on Instagram, and I think I saved it as a highlight on there if you want to go back and see it. But it was talking about how you can knit Western method or Eastern method. And I'd always heard about knitting English style versus continental, which, if you're not familiar, if you're knitting English style, you're knitting and using your right hand to like wrap the yarn around the needle, or they call it throwing the yarn. And if you knit continental, you use your left hand and you kind of pick at the yarn because you're holding it right where you need it. And so some people think that knitting continental or left hand is faster. My mom learned to knit continental, so that's how I learned how to knit. And really, there's benefits to all different methods. There's been different types of projects where you might need to know how to knit with both hands, and I do want to have that as a goal to learn to knit English method as well, because there's some projects that I've been looking into and working on, like brioche, where you need to be able to use both hands pretty well. Anyway, on the Eva cardigan, my swatch looked weird, and I figured out that I knit Western method continental and I purl Eastern method continental, which all that means is that I wrap my yarn one way for knitting and then I wrap it the opposite way for purling. And I did not learn how to do that with the purl, but I just figured out a faster way months ago to knit or purl, I'm sorry. And I guess it was messing up my knitting, because if you do two different methods, then it can cause it to look kind of stripy or twisted. It twists your stitches. I figured out that I was doing what's called combination knitting. And there's nothing wrong with being a combination knitter. It just means that most patterns are written in the Western method. And so if you do Eastern techniques, you need to do some modifications. So anyway, my brain couldn't handle the modifications that I needed to do. So on the Eva cardigan, I'm trying to go back to Western purling, where I'm needing to practice maybe with that ring for tension, and get faster at doing it, because I'm really slow purling. I can knit just fine and it's comfortable and I like it, but purling is not my favorite right now. I thought it'd be fun to chat at the end of my episodes about anything kind of non-stitchy related, things that are fun that I've been reading or watching. I have been trying to start reading the Harry Potter series again. My kids are obsessed. We've been to Universal several times. I actually used to help plan trips for people for Universal and Disney. But anyway, I've listened to the books on audio and I've watched all the movies and I've read the first book, but I haven't actually physically read the whole series, just listened to it. So I want to have that as a goal this year, to read through all of it, because there's so much more you can get out of the books versus the movies. And I'm about halfway through the first one again. I also got another book from the library yesterday by the author Tessa Bailey. I've heard good things about her and I wanted to start reading some of those. So I'm trying to get back into reading, but it's just been so hard when I want to work on other projects too. As far as watching things, my husband and I are really into Traders right now on Peacock. We watched the first season kind of late. We'd heard good things about it and got hooked on it and blazed through all of those episodes. And now we're caught up and we're watching season 2. And it's been really good. And it's kind of hard to explain, but if you watch it, let me know, because I want to discuss. I do like reality TV. I love watching The Bachelor, so I've been watching that. But Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Traders are my main things I watch. The other thing I like to watch is Amazing Race, which I think there's a new season coming out, or maybe it already is out. But my whole family loves to watch that. We love travel. Like I said, I used to be a travel planner. So those are some of our favorite things we've been watching lately. I do want to get into American Idol. I'm behind, but that's what we've been doing recently. That's all for today. Happy Leap Day and happy March, and I will see you real soon.